There's something they don't tell you about fire, something ancient, something sacred, something that changes everything you thought you knew about death. You've probably wondered what happens when flames embrace the body at the end of life. Most people see only destruction, the obvious ending, the final goodbye, but what if that moment isn't an ending at all? What if it's the most profound beginning your soul will ever experience? Tonight, we're going to explore revelations that have been hidden in plain sight for decades. Truths discovered by Edgar Cayce, the sleeping prophet who conducted over 14,000 psychic readings while in trance. A man who could close his eyes and somehow access what he called the universal consciousness. A vast library containing the journeys of every soul across all time. When families came to Cayce with questions about their loved ones who had been cremated, his responses painted a picture so different from everything we've been taught, so beautiful, so profound, that many couldn't accept what they heard. He spoke of fire not as destruction, but as a doorway, not as an ending, but as a sacred technology that serves the soul's highest evolution. Are you ready to discover what really happens when the flames embrace the vessel of your being? What really occurs when consciousness meets the sacred fire? Then breathe deeply, open your heart, and prepare to see death and life in a way that will change you forever. Edgar Cayce never intended to become the most documented psychic in modern history. He was a simple man, a photographer from Kentucky who discovered something extraordinary about consciousness, about the nature of reality itself, about what lies beyond the veil of physical existence. Twice a day, for over 40 years, this humble man would lie down on a simple couch, close his eyes, enter a trance so deep that his conscious mind completely disappeared. And from that place of absolute surrender, he would access something magnificent, the universal consciousness. The Akashic Records, a dimension where all knowledge exists, where every soul's journey is perfectly preserved, where past, present, and future converge in eternal now. While in trance, Cayce could diagnose illnesses in people he'd never met, could prescribe treatments that baffled doctors but worked miracles, could describe past lives in vivid detail, and reveal the soul's journey through death into whatever comes next. But it was his readings about death and the afterlife that revealed the most startling truths. When grieving families approached him with questions about loved ones who had been cremated, something extraordinary happened. Cayce's responses from the universal consciousness painted a picture so radically different from traditional beliefs, so filled with hope and beauty, that it challenged everything humanity thought it knew about death. He described fire not as something that destroys the soul, but as something that reveals it, not as an ending to be feared, but as a cosmic technology. A sacred process that facilitates the soul's transition in ways that natural death simply cannot match. These weren't philosophical theories he was sharing. They were direct observations from beyond the veil, reports from consciousness itself about what actually happens when the flame touches the eternal, and what he discovered will transform how you see this final passage forever. There is a secret partnership between the soul and fire, ancient, sacred, operating according to precise spiritual laws that most of humanity has forgotten. According to Cayce's revelations from the universal consciousness, when you encounter cremation, whether by your own choice or through the decisions of those who love you, you're not just participating in a funeral practice. You're engaging with what he called a divine sequence, carefully orchestrated process that serves the soul's highest evolution. Not judgment, not punishment, but optimization, the most efficient pathway for consciousness to remember its true nature. Listen carefully to this truth. The soul is not destroyed by fire. It is liberated by it in ways that natural decomposition cannot match, with clarity that gradual decay cannot provide, through a process of recognition that can take lifetimes to achieve through other means. There are specific stages to this sacred journey, particular benefits that only flame can offer, profound implications for how we understand consciousness, identity, and what it truly means to be eternal. Cayce saw this mystery unveiled across thousands of readings, souls who had chosen cremation describing their transition with joy rather than trauma, with gratitude rather than fear, because they experienced something extraordinary, something that transformed their understanding of what they truly are. Tonight, we're going to walk through each phase of this sacred journey, understanding not just what happens, but why it happens, what it means for the consciousness that experiences it, and what it reveals about the magnificent design of existence itself. The secret partnership between soul and fire is about to be revealed. Picture this moment with me. The soul, having already separated from the dying body, hovers at the threshold between worlds. Physical form lies below. Infinite consciousness stretches ahead, and then the flame appears. In Cayce's vision, this first encounter between consciousness and cremation fire isn't what most people imagine. There's no fear, no pain, no sense of being destroyed or harmed. Instead, there's recognition. The soul witnesses something extraordinary. Fire that doesn't burn but illuminates. Flames that don't destroy but reveal. Light that mirrors the very essence of consciousness itself. This is the threshold moment Cayce described again and again. When the soul experiences what he called instant knowing, a sudden, complete awareness of its own eternal nature. You see, according to the sleeping prophet's revelations, the soul itself is made of a kind of spiritual fire, what mystics throughout history have called the divine spark, the light of pure consciousness that animates every living being. When earthly flame meets this celestial flame, when physical fire encounters spiritual fire, something magnificent happens. Recognition, like two notes finding perfect harmony, like light meeting light and remembering they were never separate. The soul realizes it cannot be harmed by the cremation flame because it is, in essence, the same substance, eternal, indestructible, luminous. This threshold awareness, this moment of cosmic recognition, becomes the foundation for everything that follows. The soul doesn't fear the fire because it remembers, I am this light, I am this eternal flame. This physical form was never my true identity. What appears to be destruction is actually revelation. The flame doesn't consume the soul, it reveals it. Now something profound begins to unfold. Cayce spoke of ethereal cords, invisible threads that bind the soul to its physical form during life. These connections, which biblical traditions call silver cords, serve as anchors. Lifelines between consciousness and body that allow the soul to inhabit physical form. But here's what most people don't understand about death. These cords don't always dissolve immediately when the body stops functioning. Sometimes they linger, for days, for weeks, in rare cases, for years. These remaining attachments can leave the departed soul in what Cayce called a liminal state, confused about its condition, unable to fully embrace its expanded existence, sometimes desperately trying to return to a body that no longer functions. This is where cremation reveals its profound spiritual technology. The fire doesn't just consume flesh and bone. It cuts these ethereal bonds with surgical precision, divine precision, immediate and complete severance of every cord that might keep the soul tethered to what has been left behind. Natural death allows these connections to dissolve gradually, organically. But cremation's flame acts like a sword of light, freeing consciousness instantaneously from all physical attachment. The soul experiences immediate clarity about its new state of being. No confusion, no wandering between worlds, no desperate attempts to reanimate what has been transcended. This swift severance isn't violent, it's merciful. An act of divine compassion that frees consciousness to embrace its expanded existence without the emotional weight of unfinished physical attachments. The soul is liberated completely, free to move forward with absolute clarity about what it is, where it's going, and what magnificent journey lies ahead. Like a butterfly finally free of its chrysalis, consciousness spreads its wings into infinity. In the moments following this liberation, something beautiful occurs. Something Cayce observed again and again in his readings from the universal consciousness, the appearance of what he called soul escorts, spiritual guides, beings of light who come to welcome the newly liberated consciousness home. But these aren't strangers approaching from some distant realm. They are souls the departed has known across multiple lifetimes, sometimes appearing as beloved family members who passed before, sometimes as spiritual teachers who guided them in previous incarnations, always as familiar, loving presences who understand this soul's unique journey. The cremation process, by creating such clear separation from physical attachment, allows the newly transitioned soul to perceive these guides immediately. There's no period of disorientation, no fear of the unknown, because loving, familiar presence surrounds them from the very moment of complete liberation. Picture this scene. The soul, now fully aware of its eternal nature, finds itself embraced by beings of pure love, guides who radiate joy at this reunion, teachers who have been patiently waiting for this moment of return. These escorts serve multiple sacred purposes. They provide comfort and orientation in this expanded state of consciousness. They help the soul understand what's happening and what comes next. And they begin the process of what Cayce called life review, not with judgment, but with infinite compassion. What's particularly beautiful is that these guides often reveal themselves as souls who also chose cremation in previous lifetimes. They understand the unique clarity that fire-based liberation provides, the swift adjustment, the immediate access to expanded awareness. They are perfectly equipped to help the newly transitioned soul navigate this accelerated awakening to its eternal nature. Welcome home, they seem to say. Welcome back to who you've always been. Led by these loving guides, the soul now journeys to what Cayce called the Hall of Records. Not a physical place with walls and books, but a dimension of pure information. A realm where consciousness itself stores the complete history of every soul's journey across all time and space. Imagine a cosmic library where the book of your existence is kept. Not just your recent lifetime, but all your incarnations, every relationship you've shared across the eons, every lesson learned, every moment of love given and received, every challenge that strengthened your eternal essence. The cremation process, by creating such clean severance from the physical realm, allows the soul immediate and crystal clear access to these records. There's no gradual awakening to past life memories, no slow recall of ancient relationships. It's all there, instantly available, perfectly clear, like suddenly remembering a dream you thought you'd forgotten, but realizing it was more real than anything you experienced while awake. The soul can now review its recent incarnation with the wisdom of all its previous experiences, understanding patterns that seemed random while embodied, recognizing growth that occurred through apparent suffering, seeing how each relationship, each challenge, each moment of joy served its eternal evolution. This isn't a judgment process where the soul is evaluated by some external authority. It's a recognition process, like finally seeing a complete masterpiece. After working on individual sections for so long, the soul sees its journey not as a series of random events, but as a carefully orchestrated symphony of growth and love. The fire that consumed the temporary body has revealed the eternal soul that was always there, always growing, always learning, always deeply, profoundly loved. Every experience makes perfect sense now. Within this expanded awareness, something extraordinary begins to unfold. The soul begins to perceive what Cayce called karmic threads, the invisible connections between choices made in the recent lifetime and patterns that span multiple incarnations. But here's what's beautiful about this revelation. This isn't about punishment or cosmic debt that must be paid. It's about understanding, recognition, and profound healing. From this elevated perspective, the soul can see how certain relationships were actually sacred agreements made before incarnation, how specific challenges were chosen as opportunities for accelerated growth, how even the most painful experiences served the larger purpose of spiritual evolution. That difficult relationship? A soul contract designed to teach forgiveness. That period of suffering? A catalyst for developing compassion. That moment of loss? An initiation into the deeper levels of love. What's Remarkable about the post-cremation state is that it facilitates what Cayce termed instant integration. The soul can see these patterns without the emotional charge that physical attachment might create. It can forgive completely, not just others, but itself. Because from this expanded perspective, every choice was perfect for the learning it provided. Even more profound is the soul's newfound ability to send healing energy backward through time, to bless previous versions of itself with understanding, to offer forgiveness that ripples forward to heal future incarnations, to transform past pain into present wisdom through the alchemy of divine love. The fire that seemed to end one story has actually revealed the eternal story of which that lifetime was just one beautiful chapter, a chapter that makes perfect sense within the larger narrative of the soul's infinite journey. Home now comes perhaps the most crucial phase in the soul's post-cremation journey, standing in full awareness of its eternal nature, with complete access to its cosmic history, surrounded by loving guidance from beings who understand its deepest essence. The soul faces a profound decision. Cayce called this the choice architecture, the moment when consciousness, fully awakened to its divine nature, chooses the direction of its continued evolution. The options are both magnificent. It can choose to return to physical incarnation, bringing the wisdom of its expanded awareness into a new lifetime of service and growth. Armed now with conscious knowledge of its eternal nature, it can serve as a bridge between worlds, helping other souls remember their divine essence while still in physical form. Or it can choose what Cayce termed the ascension pathway, continuing its evolution in higher dimensions of existence, serving as a guide and teacher for souls still journeying through physical experiences, becoming one of those loving escorts who welcome newly transitioned consciousness home. This isn't a hierarchy where one choice is better than another. It's about perfect alignment with the soul's deepest purpose and highest joy. What's beautiful is that the cremation process creates such clarity of consciousness that this choice is made from pure wisdom rather than attachment, from love rather than fear, from divine alignment rather than earthly conditioning. Some souls, recognizing work they still want to accomplish in physical form, choose return with enthusiasm and crystal clear intention. Others, having completed their lessons in matter, choose to serve from expanded dimensions where they can assist countless souls simultaneously. The fire has burned away all confusion, all doubt, all unconscious programming. What remains is pure intention, perfectly aligned with divine will. Whatever choice is made is absolutely perfect for that soul's continued journey toward ultimate unity with the source of all love. Take a moment to breathe deeply and let this truth settle into your heart. Understanding Edgar Cayce's revelations about cremation changes everything about how you approach your current lifetime. Everything, knowing that consciousness is eternal, that fire reveals rather than destroys, that your essential nature is indestructible light. This transforms daily existence from survival mode to service mode, from fear-based living to freedom-based being. You begin to see your body differently, not as your identity, but as the beautiful temporary vessel it truly is, worthy of care and respect, but not the source of your worth, not the definition of who you are. Your relationships deepen because you recognize the eternal souls sharing this temporary dance of incarnation with you. That difficult person in your life, an ancient soul friend helping you grow through challenge, that beloved family member, a consciousness you've loved across lifetimes, temporarily wearing a different form. That stranger who showed you unexpected kindness. Perhaps a soul guide briefly taking human form to remind you of love's presence. Your challenges transform from random suffering into opportunities for accelerated evolution because you understand they serve your soul's growth. They're not punishments from an angry universe, but initiations designed by your own higher wisdom to strengthen your eternal essence. Most importantly, you lose the fear of death that haunts so many human lives. Whether you choose cremation or it's chosen for you, whether you face this transition tomorrow or in decades, you know that moment will be one of liberation, recognition, and absolute homecoming. This knowledge doesn't make you reckless with your precious life. It makes you fearless in the service of love. You can live fully, love completely, and serve authentically because you know this isn't your only chance, it's your current opportunity to add beauty to the eternal story of your soul's journey through consciousness. If someone you love has been cremated, please receive these words as a gift to your grieving heart. That moment you feared was traumatic. That image that haunts your dreams was actually a moment of recognition and profound joy for their eternal essence. The soul you miss isn't gone. It's expanded, more aware, more itself than it ever was while wearing physical form. The fire you witnessed consuming their body didn't harm them. It freed them to remember who they truly are. Beyond all physical limitations, according to Cayce's revelations, they experienced the threshold moment we described. Recognition rather than destruction, liberation rather than loss. They can perceive your love more clearly now than they ever could while embodied. They understand your grief with infinite compassion. They want you to know they're safe, they're held in love, they're surrounded by guides who have been waiting lifetimes to welcome them home, and they can send you comfort in ways you might not even recognize. Many people report feeling their cremated loved ones' presence more strongly than those who died natural deaths. This aligns perfectly with Cayce's teachings about the clarity and expanded awareness that cremation facilitates. That sudden warmth you feel, that sense of presence in quiet moments, that dream that felt more real than waking life, these aren't wishful thinking. They're actual contact from a consciousness now freed to love you from dimensions beyond physical limitation. Your grief is natural and completely honored, but it need not be shadowed by fear about their experience. They are held in absolute love, surrounded by souls who understand their journey, accessing wisdom beyond imagination. And if they choose to return, they'll come back with expanded capacity to love and serve. The flames you watched consume their body were actually revealing the eternal being you always knew them to be. They are not lost. They are found. They are not diminished. They are expanded, they are not suffering. They are discovering the infinite joy of remembering their divine nature. Now I want you to imagine yourself in that sacred moment, your consciousness, having lived fully in your current form, now separating gently from your aging body. You feel no fear as you witness the cremation flame approaching, because something extraordinary happens in that threshold moment. You recognize the fire as your own essence. The light consuming the temporary vessel is the same light that has always burned within your heart. The divine spark that animated every breath, every heartbeat, every moment of love you shared while embodied, instead of ending. You experience the most profound beginning of your eternal existence. The flame touches your awareness, and you remember you are made of this same sacred fire. This same indestructible light, the body that seemed so important dissolves like morning mist. But you, the real you, expand into consciousness beyond anything you experienced while incarnated. Your guides appear, and your heart explodes with recognition. Souls you've loved across lifetimes welcoming you home. Teachers who guided you in previous incarnations embracing you with joy. Beings of pure love who have been patiently waiting for this moment of reunion. Your complete history unfolds before you like a magnificent tapestry. Every thread purposeful, every pattern beautiful. You see how this lifetime served your eternal evolution, how every relationship taught you deeper love, how every challenge strengthened your soul's capacity for compassion. The fire that others might fear becomes your liberation, your homecoming, your return to conscious unity with the source of all existence. This vision isn't fantasy, according to Cayce's revelations from the universal consciousness. It's your destiny, whether in this lifetime or another. And knowing this, truly understanding this, how does it change this very moment you're experiencing right now? How does recognizing your eternal nature transform your relationship with your temporary physical form? How does understanding the sacred fire within you alter the way you move through your days? The consciousness that will someday meet the cremation flame with joy and recognition is the same consciousness. Receiving these words right now, you are already that eternal being. You are already that indestructible light. You are already that divine soul temporarily focused through human experience. Deepest truth Edgar Cayce revealed about cremation has nothing to do with fire-consuming flesh. It's about love, proving itself stronger than death. Consciousness, demonstrating its eternal nature, the soul recognizing its divine essence and returning home to the source of all existence. But this knowledge isn't meant to remain beautiful philosophy, floating in some distant corner of your mind. It's meant to become living wisdom that transforms how you experience each precious day of your current incarnation. When you truly align with the understanding that your essential self is indestructible, when you genuinely know that your consciousness is eternal light temporarily focused through human form, when you deeply realize that your physical body is a sacred vessel, but not your ultimate identity, everything changes. You naturally begin living from love rather than fear. You make choices based on soul growth rather than ego safety. You offer your unique gifts freely because you know they flow from an inexhaustible, divine source. You relate to others as eternal souls temporarily, sharing this human experience rather than as competitors for limited resources. This is what Cayce called attunement, living in conscious awareness of your divine nature while still fully engaged in your earthly experience. The fire that will someday liberate your consciousness from physical form is the same fire that can liberate you right now from limiting beliefs that keep you small, from fear-based thinking that separates you from love, from the illusion that you are anything less than divine light-wearing human form for the purpose of growth and service. Let this truth burn away what doesn't serve your highest good. Let it reveal what's eternally magnificent within you. Let it ignite your life with the sacred fire of authentic love, purposeful service, and joyful connection to the infinite source of all existence. You are not preparing for some distant spiritual awakening. You are already awake. You are already divine. You are already home. The cremation flame simply reveals what has always been true. Edgar Cayce's revelations about cremation ultimately point to one transcendent, life-changing truth. You are eternal, indestructible, divine consciousness, temporarily experiencing human form. The fire that might one day consume your physical body cannot touch your essence because your essence is already fire, the sacred flame of divine love that burns within every soul, the indestructible light that connects you to the source of all existence. The eternal awareness that has been your true identity across all lifetimes, all experiences, all journeys through form and formlessness. This isn't just beautiful philosophy designed to comfort you about death. It's practical wisdom for living without fear, loving without reservation, and serving without attachment to outcome. Take this knowing into your days. You are absolutely safe. You are eternally loved. You are divinely guided on a journey that has no true ending, only endless expansion into greater love and wisdom. Whether you face cremation tomorrow or in decades to come, whether by conscious choice or through the loving decisions of others, that moment will be one of homecoming, recognition, and indescribable joy. But why wait for that sacred transition to embrace who you truly are? The consciousness that will someday meet the cremation flame with celebration is the same consciousness you can embody right now. Live as the eternal being you are, love as the divine soul you've always been, serve as the indestructible light that illuminates every heart it touches. This is Edgar Cayce's greatest gift to humanity. Not just knowledge about what happens after physical death, but wisdom about how to truly live while wearing human form. The eternal flame within you is already burning. Let it guide you home to the love you are. Let it illuminate the path of service you came here to walk. Let it remind you in every moment that you are so much more than you ever imagined. You are consciousness itself, having a temporary human experience. You are divine love, learning to recognize itself in countless forms. You are the eternal traveler, journeying home to the infinite source of all existence. And that journey, that magnificent sacred journey, begins right now.